And today we are joined by Dr. Perry Bush of Bluffton University, and we're getting a little closer to that deadline that is looming for a full government shutdown. So far, neither side of the aisle has been able to come up with a compromise, so it's looking like this shutdown is really a real possibility.
Yeah, Lynn, I tell you, here we go again. By midnight Saturday, if they haven't reached agreement, it looks like it's going to happen. And, this is what, the fourth time in 10 years by my accounting. Lest we get caught up in all the political intrigue, there's a lot of political intrigue, let's just, again, it'd be useful to just, remind ourselves what government means to Americans. There's a lot of talk in certain circles, we don't need government, it's a hassle, get out of the way, let the people work. Well, government does critically important things. I mean, paychecks to members of the military will quit. Air traffic controllers will keep working. When you got to have them, but they'll work without pay. Critical governmental research in a time of global pandemics, that will come to a halt, temporary halt. Food stamps payments will be stalled. I mean, it would go on and on. It will register a huge impact on the lives of ordinary Americans, the very people that we send members of Congress to look after and protect. So, yeah, it's a disaster. It will hurt a lot of people, and from what we can tell, it's due to really not even partisan politics right now, though usually they're at fault. But it's a dispute among the members of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. That's what appears to be driving this thing now. So yeah, there's on the screen is a list of what it will do. Why is this happening? There's a bipartisan group of senators who put together a bill. They're ready to sign it. Biden would sign it, but what we need is funding. And the Speaker of the House, Speaker Kevin McCarthy, can't get his representatives together to pass a temporary spending bill, a stopgap spending measure will get the government going through November, even though the Senate is ready to move. And this goes back, Lynn, to when Speaker McCarthy took office. It was, what, a 10-day impetus, a hiatus in which he had to, work real hard to even get the votes to make him speaker. So he has a very, very thin governing majority. And in fact, what he is he's held hostage to a far-right caucus of the Republican Party who themselves can't agree on what they want. I mean, they just had an appropriations bill in the defense votes on a appropriations bill for the defense industry, and they voted to strip the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin's salary down to $1. They voted to cut off funding for international aid, disaster assistance. They themselves can't agree on what they want, so there's no place even for the Democrats to negotiate when the Republicans in the House can't come up with a list of coherent demands. So that's where we're at right now, and that's why it looks like this thing's going to a shutdown, and who knows how long it's going to last.
Down to our final 45 seconds or so here. I think the most amazing part of this whole thing for me is they're talking about pulling the plug on so many government functions, but yet they themselves will not lose their pay, meaning the politicians.
They take good care of themselves in Congress, but there are lots of Americans who are going to suffer and pay a political price. I mean, this has happened before. In the end, members of the military got back pay. But in the meantime, they have rent to pay. They have bills to pay. There's a whole slew of Americans, millions and millions of Americans who are dependent on government. And you can make all the anti-government screeds you want to and scream and cry about how government is wrecking American lives, whatever. That's a staple of certain political dialogue in some circles. But in reality, we need it. And most of us need it in some way or another. And some of us need it real badly. And when you shut it down, it hurts people. And, the White House is saying, okay, there's nothing we can do, but there'll be a political price to be paid for this, and it's not going to come back and bite us. I mean, in the words of one White House spokesman not long ago, he said extreme House Republicans are playing partisan games with people's lives and marching our country towards a government shutdown that would have damaging impacts across the country. And I think actually that's where many Americans are going to come down. The Republicans got to get their act together and figure out what they want and start to deal.
Absolutely. Dr. Perry Bush, Bluffton University, thank you so much for your time today. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, and we'll be back with more right after this.